Hello, 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 hello. Greetings from Mama Heru. I'm not going to take much of your time. I just want to share a little of my story about how I became unplugged from the church scene, the religious scene. It had this place, but I totally outgrew it. If you're still in the church scene, it is not something that you should be in forever. It should be a stepping stone, something where you start and you move out of it. Some people never got into that scene, and that's good. That's really, really good. But I was one of the ones that got into that scene. Now, you can subscribe below if you like. You don't want to, you don't have to. It really doesn't matter to me. I just want to share my story. So, and I think that if it was not for you to hear some of my story, you would not have come across this video. And that's fine. So, what I'm going to do, like I said, I don't want to waste a lot of time. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I got into the church scene. My mom was a Catholic. My dad was a Catholic. They said I was a born Catholic. Okay, whatever it is. I never did really go the Catholic scene route because my mom found something wrong with that. She said something wasn't quite in there for her. And so she stepped away from it and started living her life and enjoying her life. That's the way it should be. And then one day, this lady came down the street. She passed our house. My mom was standing outside, and she wanted to know if she could take her kids to the church, which was down the street. And my mom said, okay, why not? Go ahead, like that. So the lady came that Sunday. She took us down the street to the church. Then she came again, took us the next Sunday, and the next Sunday, and the next Sunday. Next thing I knew, I was a sinner. I know it might sound funny, but they told me I was a sinner, and if I didn't get saved and give my life to this Jesus, we'll talk about him in another series, then I would die and go to hell. And I need to give 10%. When I started working, I needed to give 10% of what I made, or I would die and go to hell because I didn't do my part. And if I didn't give 10%, my life was going to be a mess. Like diseases and a poor lifestyle, no family, no children, all kinds of crazy stuff they would tell you. We could not wear pants, we could not wear makeup, we could not go to the movies, we could not go to the clubs, we couldn't do none of that because all of that was just going to wreck our life. So we lived in fear all the time. All the time we were living in fear. We were stressed from the head to toe all the time. Okay? If you look at religious people, you might think they might make you feel like, oh, hallelujah, 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 Jesus, 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 and I'm giving a little good life. They not. If they're really honest with you, really, really honest with you, they're not living the good life on the inside. They are living in fear, and fear brings about negative vibrations. I had friends that were not in the church, and they were happy. They were living out there doing their thing and enjoying their life. And everybody wasn't in jail either. Everybody wasn't diseased all up and all that kind of stuff either. They were not. And I couldn't figure out why. I looked at my friends and they seemed to be enjoying their life, which they have another plateau they will have to go to also. But at the same time, I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I just was not. So I was living in this false reality of what the church had presented to us. And even the ministers in the church, they were preaching to us what they had learned from the cemetery, and some of them was preaching to us what had been preached to them when they were young. Even in the Roman Catholic Church, that's another whole crazy story too. It's just all crazy to me, and I couldn't figure out if we have all these so-called leaders in the church world, why the world was in such a bad state. Why were people still going to prison? Why were people not feeling loved? Why do we still have the homeless? Why do we still have people hungry? Why do we have all these orphanage? Why do we have all these things? And I just could not understand that. And then we have churches that have ministers that's driving around in the best of cars. They have jets, They are wearing the finest of clothes, you know, and they even to the point that they have bodyguards. They're so high up there. They're so one of God's callers until they need bodyguards now. I said, something's wrong with this picture. So you know what? Bunk that. I don't want nobody telling me nothing. Oh, I forgot the part. Also, the preachers want to sleep with you. That's another whole story too. And I know a lot of you out there know about that. Yes, you do. And no one is not saying a word. Just like in the Roman Catholic Church, when they was raping those little boys, raping those little girls, no one wasn't saying a thing. But yet they were all called by God. Give me a freaking break. Okay? Step away from this. Step away from it. So what happened with me was I want to know who was God really and what is he really all about, because I didn't see when he was doing a good job on this universe. In this universe, I could not see it. So I began to study outside of the Bible, because when I was studying outside the Bible, I also began to see that none of those people existed. I know it's going to dagger you in your heart. None of them existed. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Moses, Mary, none of them existed. It was all just a story to plug you into their reality of what they want you to believe. It took you away from yourself. You know, you're a star seed. You're that spark of light that came here to just experience living in a human way. That's all that was. There's a whole lot more to it. But anyway, I started to study outside the Bible. And I had the Matthew's commentary. I had all these books to help you to understand it. And like it was going nowhere. To one evening, I was in my floor. I had my books all around me, just studying how this book came together. Then that's when I found out how they had removed some of the books, left some of the books in there. Some of the scriptures in there had been interpreted in the wrong way, and it was just all about man, not about the creator of this universe, but all about man. So as I was studying, out of nowhere, looked like the Bible just went shh, like a deck of cards go across your table. All the books just went across, and they were all separated. And I was like, what the? And I heard my name. It was like Lorena, just like that, just as calm. And I looked all around the room. I know there was no one in the house. My babies were asleep. So I said, what was that? Then I heard my name again, Lorena. And I looked all around like, what the hell? I looked back at the floor where all my paperwork was. And in my spirit, this is what was said to me. What you are looking for is not in that book. That's their story. Now you have a story. And something in me began to bubble over like this. And I just began to cry. I cry and I cry and I cry and I cry. I said, so you mean to say that this was all made up? I couldn't handle it. It took me days to get over that. I'm like, what the hell is this? And then more information began to come to me from the universe. Because now what had I started to do? I began to unplug myself of all this downloaded information that was given to me since I was a kid. Note I said given to me, not what was already in me, but what had been altered in me, altered in our DNA. And I began to live life in so many ways. It is the sweetest feeling to know that you can begin to live the way you were supposed to live and begin to swish away how they say you're supposed to live, what kind of education you're supposed to have, what kind of man you should live with, what kind of life you should live, what kind of house you should live in, you know, who you should date, who you shouldn't date. All the things that you should do with your life has already been programmed in your DNA. And even that begins to change. I'm not going to talk too long right now, but I will be coming back with more about your DNA and how you should really live and how you should be the person you were born to be. If you were born to be a ballerina, then hey, let go and let it swerve and begin to live it. Then say it's going to be easy, it's going to be hard because you have been programmed to live a certain way, and you're going to feel if you don't live that way, then God is going to strike you down. But the Creator is all about love. That's the way it has all ever been, about love, not about that fear. There is no heaven, there is no hell. All that stuff they've been telling you, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. The people in the Bible doesn't exist. If you ever get a chance, watch the Truman Show. Tells you a lot about what's really going on in your life. Watch The Matrix. Tells you a lot about what's really going on in your life. Until next time, I will be coming back with more enlightened information from Mama Heru so that your life will begin to change and you begin to live it the way you want to live it. You will create your own reality, not the reality, not to live the reality, not to live the reality that has been put before you. I love you with the love of the universe. Until next time, have a great